8 billion. Now, for a business audience like this number could be market capitalization, revenue, or maybe in a good year, even profits. But I'm actually referring to the number of people on this planet. The United Nations estimates that we have reached this significant milestone on the 15th of November last year, 2022. And by now we realize that, all of us have a shared responsibility to take care of this planet. Because we've never had so many people in recorded history all living on this earth. As we look ahead, the world population will continue to grow to 8.5 billion by 2030 and stabilizing at about 10 billion in the second half of this century. It is only when the planet is healthy that it can continue to provide for an ever-growing population and for individuals and communities to thrive. But we have a slight problem here. We are already using resources at a much higher rate than what the Earth can support. Today, we need 1.75 Earths to support the human race. And in a few years' time, by 2030, we need 2, double the rate of what we are consuming. So for business people, if you think about it, if you have costs that run double your revenues, you're going to have a problem quite soon. And this is the problem that we do have as a human race and on this planet. This is clearly not sustainable. Along with the growing population and greater demands on Earth's resources, we are facing with what Financial Times calls a polycrisis world, which means multiple global crises unfolding at the same time on an unprecedented scale. And to add to that, if you are not overwhelmed already, to add to that some more, a leading political science journal, Foreign Affairs, has called this era the age of uncertainty. There's so much going on, and so many pressures, so many issues and challenges. And to find a way forward, we need a multi-dimensional, multi-stakeholder response. And in some ways, we've seen a glimpse of that over the last 3 years in the COVID response. We talked about collaboration this morning, and actually, during the pandemic, we've seen the power of collaboration across companies, communities, and countries in helping us to reach the stage we are today, when we can gather again like this, without masks. This is the power of collaboration. But with collaboration, it requires trust. Trust is key. And in his address, PM Lee Hsien Loong himself emphasized that trust levels mattered much more, even than the quality of healthcare and the availability of universal healthcare in our pandemic response. We know intuitively in our interaction that trust is very important for families, for communities, for companies to function more effectively. And trust, in fact, is the lubricant that oils our economic engines. But unfortunately, the state of trust today is getting worse, with distrust becoming society's default emotion. So when anything happens, the initial reaction is to distrust, because this is fueled by a lot of fake news and also the failure of important institutions in society. Of course, trust levels across different countries do vary, and we must be grateful that here in Singapore, the level of trust remains relatively high. When we compare across institutions, businesses are seen to be most trusted, so that's a good thing. But with that sense of being trusted, there are also higher expectations. expectations that business will do right, businesses will contribute to the greater good, and be a force for good in society. There is also an emerging opportunity. Millennial and Gen Zs are growing in numbers, growing in influence as our current and future customers, employees, investors, and our stakeholders. And studies, including this one by Deloitte, have shown that millennials and Gen Zs expect the companies they interact with to have a clear purpose and to contribute to addressing societal issues. And today, with more choice, with greater transparency, companies need to respond. They cannot afford to say, let me do whatever I want and not consider this group, because this group is going to be ever more important to the future of business. So all these factors that we have seen actually would suggest to us that the idea of business as a force for good is gaining traction and gaining momentum. But of course, as you heard this morning, there are still some who think that the one and only social responsibility of business is to increase profits, as Milton Friedman has talked about some 50 years ago. Now, companies may not say it publicly, maybe some still think it. They don't dare to say it because it's getting harder to say that, I only focus solely on profits. I only care about my shareholders. It's hard to say. But maybe they will still behave that certain way. But increasingly, we are seeing companies take on corporate social responsibility, CSR, which means donating, volunteering. I don't have to say too much to this audience. But I want to say that corporate giving remains important. We want to continue to encourage companies to donate, to encourage their employees to volunteer. But given all the challenges we face today, we need more from companies. It cannot be just CSR, it has to be more. So we need more than CSR, but what is that more? It is about viewing the business as something you do for stakeholders, not just shareholders. And it was mentioned a bit earlier this morning. Prominent business leaders, including the two very prominent business leaders this morning, are speaking out on this. And we maybe add one more voice to this. Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest asset management company, has called on CEOs to have a clear purpose and emphasize that purpose is a company's North Star in order to be able to navigate through such a tumultuous environment. And we know what that tumultuous environment looks like. Poly-crisis, age of uncertainty, climate change, growing population, we are running out of resources. So the paradigm of business is shifting. Success in business is no longer financial metrics alone, financial profits alone, but what kind of value companies create for all of society across environmental, social, and economic dimensions. And with that shift in the paradigm, the question cannot be, how can we make more profits? How can we make as much profits as possible? But the right question now, the key question, the critical question now is the world a better place because our company exists? Is the world a better place because our company exists? At this stage, I'd just like to refer you to a little blue booklet that's in front of you. This is our summit booklet. So it's for you to take notes, but also there's a short write-up at the beginning on the framework and blueprint of corporate purpose. Of course, you can get the full document in a soft copy, and the MC will later show us how to access that. But I want to refer you to the foreword at the front, the foreword from DPM and Minister for Finance Lawrence Wong, where he shared his perspective on the holistic role of business in society. I want to share this with us. The value that a business brings to society goes deeper than simply its ability to create jobs and add economic value. Businesses touch many segments of our community and create positive impact in many lives. We want to do more to help businesses strengthen their corporate purpose and do good in society. So businesses doing good in society is not just altruism. And if you think about it carefully, it is actually the alignment of the long-term interests of companies as well as the communities in which they operate. So this long-term perspective has been talked about this morning. It is a very important dimension that we need to consider as we think about corporate purpose. And such alignment and interdependence will provide shared value and benefits, build trust, and we know that trust is so important in all spheres of life, and enable all stakeholders to thrive and flourish for the long term. I'm pleased to share that to be able to help us understand what corporate purpose is all about, we brought together more than 40 companies. And you see this little picture here, it was taken this morning. You may want to try and spot your own face there or the face of your friends. But this is a group that worked with us for more than a year. And my chairman mentioned this morning, to be able to put together the framework and blueprint. And this is really a tremendous piece of work, but it represents work by companies, for companies, to articulate what corporate purpose means for all of us. And out of this group, they have also been not just doing the framework, but committing themselves to purpose. They have truly lived out their name, which is to take action, to catalyze action. So will you just join me in thanking all of them for their wonderful contributions? And this is the work that they have done. They have developed this corporate purpose framework that shows how we connect the purpose, which you see right in the middle, the corporate purpose, how it links to the vision, mission, and values of the organization. And then from that core, how it is expressed through the strategy and operations, which should cover the people, society, governance, environment, and economic spheres. The blueprint is the second part. The blueprint talks about the how. How do companies embark on this journey? How can they make it happen? How can they live out this corporate purpose work? And using the acronym GREAT, G-R-E-A-T, from getting started on the left, progressing all the way to thriving on the right, it lays out a process for businesses of different sizes and maturity to progress through various stages of development on their corporate purpose journey. You know, in the lead up to this summit, I had briefing sessions with many CEOs, and the feedback they gave me is that please don't make the blueprint one size fits all, because companies are different. They are of different sizes, they operate in different industries, they are different stages of development. So in fact, one SME said, when I shared about Temasek, he said, I'm not Temasek. I cannot take 1 year to do a corporate purpose conversation. I said, do whatever you can, but have that conversation with all your colleagues. And maybe if you're smaller, it doesn't take 1 year, but you do need to have that conversation. So the feedback is to make sure that this blueprint is customized, it's calibrated, and we can adapt this blueprint as a matrix. The corporate purpose matrix will provide a way for all companies to embark on this journey, wherever they are, whatever size they are, whatever industries they operate in. It is something for everyone. A key element, and we talked about this earlier, cooperation, collaboration. A key element of the corporate purpose change that we want to enact is really the ecosystem. Because without the ecosystem, we can't make system-level change. And what we're talking about with corporate purpose is system-level change. So we need to bring together the trade associations and chambers, universities and business schools, non-profit organizations, investors, clients and customers, even the public at large, because the public are the stakeholders, and of course the government. All these players will play important roles in supporting companies as they shift towards corporate purpose. Now, with a framework and blueprint in place, the next question for us is, who is going to drive the adoption? How will we make this happen? So rather than go after all the 300,000 or more companies in Singapore, which will amount to trying to boil the ocean, as we say in business, we should start with companies that are already receptive to the message and doing things in the area of, say, corporate giving, doing good, have the right instincts and the right interests to move forward. The Company of Good initiative was started by NVPC in 2016, and over 6.5 years, we built up a good network of business leaders and companies that are doing good. It's been focused on corporate giving, and we have been very encouraged to see companies that join Company of Good increase their corporate giving by 20%. So if we can get most, if not all of the 2,400 companies to adopt corporate purpose, we will be much closer to that tipping point where you can see the entire business community shift to corporate purpose. So this is our plan. We will enhance the Company of Good program to help us pivot from corporate giving to corporate purpose. In this strategy, we will provide clear progression pathways for all sorts of companies, of all sizes, industries, stages of development. We will provide value-added services and programs, and also a recognition system will change to be more inclusive and progressive. And we will invest in brand and marketing efforts to continuously enhance the value of the brand. I just want to deep dive a little bit into the recognition system because it's different from what you may have experienced in the last 4 intakes of Champions of Good. And what you will see is in the past, we tend to focus on the Champions of Good, which represent about 6% of our Company of Good database. But we will move to a system where there will be progression tiers. So it applies to all companies. All companies can track their progress across all the different tiers. And the other major change will be the recognition criteria, where we will cover all the 5 impact areas and not just corporate giving as we did in the past. In all of this, again, this idea of collaboration, NVPC will not be doing this alone. And we're very pleased to have a strategic partner, Singapore Business Federation, to work with us and to also co-chair the recognition and assessment panel. We will also be working with the UN Global Compact Network Singapore, National Council of Social Service, Singapore Institute of Directors, and the Singapore National Employers Federation. So all these partners bring very unique and important capabilities and expertise so that we can have good coverage of all the 5 impact areas. We will continue to put the spotlight on the great work that our Champions of Good and Companies of Good are doing via national and regional media campaigns, as well as international speaking engagements. And we have media present here today. I want to put out this message to our media friends that I'd like to appeal to you to help us shape the narrative so that companies understand the importance of being purpose-driven and a force for good in society. So please help us. In that vein, we have been working with Channel News Asia to produce a series of 5 short videos around our 5 impact areas, which will feature Champions of Good. These videos will be aired very soon in February and will offer a candid perspectives from business leaders and companies on their corporate purpose journey. I believe they will tell it all, good, bad, and ugly, because this is important to help us inspire more companies to come on the corporate purpose journey. So to the audience who have joined us today, whether on-site or online, I offer you an exclusive sneak preview.
It all does come down to our purpose.
We have to get more holistic solutions through.
This is going to be the largest industrial revolution in human history.
When you are an innovator, you always go in front of the path.
Travelling patterns will continue to evolve, technologies will continue to emerge. It's that commitment and the purpose that drive the people a lot. Focusing on the people is top priority.
Integrity is what you do when no one is watching.
When you lift the community, your business gets lifted up.
We have to involve the entire industry ecosystem to improve the health, confidence, and well-being of the planet. And organizations like ours can really help them.
And so it helps us really, from a purpose perspective, support their growth and our growth.
And when we do that, the community benefits. And when the community benefits, the business will benefit.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So NVPC is ready. We stand fully committed to help companies make the shift towards corporate purpose. So we will refresh our Company of Good program and run all the programs that I mentioned. We will also be mobilizing the business ecosystem to bring together partners to collaborate and synergize across all the 5 impact areas. And of course, we want to work closely with our champions of good because I think they can be really helpful in leading the way. In fact, one excellent example is Unilever. This morning, I'm pleased to announce that Unilever will be our first partner in a capability development program to help SMEs adopt corporate purpose. We are calling it the Purpose for Growth program. We will also have SBF as our partner on outreach and program design. We are very excited about this. I think it'll be excellent. It'll be a game changer. And we would like to invite more companies to do the same, to work with us and launch similar initiatives to really drive corporate purpose adoption. So if you're interested, please speak to me or one of my NVPC colleagues. In the coming weeks and months, we'll be doing quite a few things. First of all, we'll be running a series of information sessions, learning journeys, workshops, and forums, because I think, to be fair, the time that I have, I can't really go into the details of corporate purpose and company of good. So the information sessions will provide a lot more information, go into depth on our framework and blueprint, as well as the details of the company of good strategy that will help to drive corporate purpose. Towards the end of this year, we will be opening and inviting companies to submit their applications for the recognition system. And for the next half of, the first half of next year, we will be doing the conferment for the company of good and the champions of good. So let me conclude and bring all of this together. As business leaders, we have a duty to create the conditions that allow individuals and communities and the environment to thrive, because this has a direct impact on our company's long-term survival and success. We can no longer afford to ignore the serious and existential challenges we face today. So we have a choice. Will it be business as usual, or will we make the decisive shift towards corporate purpose? What will it be? Today, I call on all business leaders to take personal responsibility, to lead our companies towards corporate purpose, and to be a force for good in society. Together, we can shape a better future with corporate purpose for this generation and many more generations to come. Thank you very much.